I got so mad that I grabbed his drink and I threw it at his door. And then I stormed back to my car and grabbed my drink and threw it at his window.
It's no accident. It sounds like you're leveling up in a video game. 48% of 18 to 29-year-olds have an online dating profile.
Make them work for it.
45% of people say they're more frustrated with this form of dating than hopeful.
There are so many people you can connect with.
The Swipe Wrong Podcast. Everyday people telling everyday stories of the swipe right world.
Well, I know he had a good time.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and of course, good night. So whenever you're ready to listen, we're here, we're chilling, we're kicking it, we're waiting for you. Shows drop. Someone asked me, when do shows drop? They drop every Monday at 12:01 a.m., so Sunday night into Monday morning. New show drops. So welcome to the Swipe Wrong Podcast. I am Chaos. I'm the guy who gets to take you through all the stories. We need all the stories. Give us a call, 317-426-6616. We are the number one podcast amongst people who love to use the word juice box in a sentence. There you go. You're thinking about it. You're like, it is the best word underutilized in the English dictionary. How you guys doing? So this week, another good story. There's a few stories mixed in, and there is one in there where I think after I listened to the recording, I was like, man, I don't know that I reacted as much as I think I should have, because that was pretty fucked up. So, hopefully you guys catch it a little bit better than I did. I think I was processing what was going on. I'm like, wait, did this motherfucker really just do that? Okay. All right. Awesome girl actually ends up being that, we connected on Facebook, and, she is pretty much distant family that I didn't even realize. So I guess we're all distant family. So, anyway, fun times. Here we go. Let's just get into it this week. I mean, I don't have too much to say. Housekeeping's done, so this is what we do. You sit back, relax, put your feet up, enjoy, grab your popcorn, get it buttered if you want to. If you're in traffic, do me a favor, be safe. We care about you. I don't want anything to happen to you, so don't hit that person next to you. Don't hurt yourself and don't hurt them. And enjoy. He flipped his lid.
Did I forget to mention we do have a word from our crack staff legal department? Here they are.
Disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the speaker and do not necessarily reflect the views or opinions or any entities they represent. This podcast is about dating experiences. It is not to say one dating app is better or worse than another.
So tell me your story. How long? So what dating apps do you use?
Oh, I've used Tinder, I've used Hinge, and I've used Bumble. Okay. I've used all of them, I guess.
All right. You're like, well, I mean, I know where you live, so it's not like farmers only or anything like that either, because there is a little bit of farmland out there. No. So, which one do you like the best?
I honestly hate them all. I can say I hate Hinge the most because Hinge shows you who likes you, right? Yeah. So then you get excited. You're like, oh, Jack liked me. And then you go and you see what Jack looks like. And you're like, oh. And it's like the ugliest of any man you'll ever see. Like, it's like the bottom of the barrel.
Hinge has that?
Like, huh?
Hinge has that, or just Jack in general?
Well,
okay.
Hinge, because the guys that like you will be so ugly, and then you're second guessing yourself, and you're like, maybe I'm not as cute as I think that I am, because none of these guys are attractive. Sometimes they'll leave really weird messages.
Like what?
I don't know. I feel like I've gotten so many. I think I've did Hinge like a million times. I don't have it right now, but
yeah.
Or sometimes guys will, because you can leave a little comment, sure, but it sends a like as well, and they'll waste their like sending something completely random. Or I'll say that I like cats in my bio, and they're like, ew.
That's what they say. That's their opening.
I'm like, you wasted your like to say ew. Like, that's stupid.
You got about 5 seconds to sell yourself, and you go with ew. I don't know if that's the best move at all. Or
actually, I had a Hinge maybe 2 weeks ago, and I matched with this guy, and he lived out here. He's like a nurse, and he wanted to take me on a date. And I only knew his first name. I didn't know what he did. And he was like, "Can I pick you up?" And I was like, "No." And he got all mad. And I was like, "Okay, well, if you pick me up, then what's your last name?"
Sure.
And he was like, "Well, that's weird." And I was like, "How is that weird?" He's like, "That's weird. You don't know me." And I was like, "Exactly. I don't know you. That's why I want to know your last name." I was like, "You could be a serial killer for all I know."
Yeah, right. So he thinks it's weird. He thinks it's weird you ask his last. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'll stop interrupt. But he thinks it's weird that you ask his last name, but he doesn't think it's weird that he has to pick you up, and you're kind of like, no.
Yeah. Yeah. It was weird for me to know his last name. And he got like so upset, and he like kept calling me, and I was like, "No." And then I was like, "Unless you're going to tell me last name, I'm not meeting you anywhere because I don't know who you are. And I need to tell my brother or someone who I'm going with just in case something happens to me."
Yeah, for sure.
And like, he just wasn't that through his head. And I was like, "Well, if you're not going to respect that, then I'm not going to text you back. Sorry." I just didn't respond. And he kept calling me, and I was like, ew.
Like legit calling. Like, so you got off the app, you gave him your number, you were texting and calling, and the vibe was pretty good until he tried to pick you up. Is that kind of
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was really weird. Like he was like, "Oh, you're gonna flake on me." And I was like, "No, I'm not gonna flake on you." And then he did that, and I was like, "I'm not gonna go." And then he was like, "Oh, I knew you were gonna flake on me, flake." And he was like calling me names, and I was like, ugh.
God, nothing's gonna win a girl over and calling her names like so ruthless, like flake. I mean, what did he?
I know. And I was like,
not good at all.
I was like, no wonder you're 32 and on Hinge. It's sad because all these, you'd think that men would get better with age, but they just get worse.
That seems to be the case. Yeah. I mean, like, it seems like the longer somebody's single or people are single, there's just more damage, and you're not sure exactly what's going to happen next. So sometimes you're just like, oh, they seem great, but that's why they're single. I get it now. It takes a few minutes, but you get there.
I matched with this one guy on Bumble during the pandemic, and we had like a little car date. And I used to work at Starbucks back then. So after I got off, I think he picked me up from work, and we went to like In-N-Out, and I was in his car, which was not a very smart move because I didn't know who he was.
Did you get his last name?
No, I didn't even know his last name. I just decided to hang out with him. That wasn't very smart when I was younger.
Whatever.
But we go and we're talking, and I'm telling him, because at the time I was in cosmetology school, and he was like, "Oh, that's really cool." He was like, "You should like really look into like doing toupees." And I was like, "I've never thought about that, but yeah, that would be interesting." And he was like, "Yeah, like you make a lot of money." And I was like, "Yeah, like I never even thought about toupees." I was like, "I've learned about them, but I never actually met someone that had a toupee." And then he goes, "Well, I have a toupee." And I was like, "What?"
It's the first time you're hanging out? And how old was he?
Hanging out with this guy. I think we were both 22.
Oh my gosh. That poor kid. He was like bald in high school, or at least balding in high school. Oh no.
And he's just like, "Do you want to see what I look like bald?"
Did he take it off?
And he just...
Was there like glue on his head and shit too when he took it off?
Yes. And I was like, he was like, "See?" And then like, no, at first he had me tug on it, and he was like, it feels real, huh?" And I was like, "Yeah." And I didn't believe him that it was fake. And then, yeah, it was a good toupee.
Yeah.
And then he showed me pictures of him like bald.
Sure.
And then he was telling me how he was Mormon because he went to that Mormon college they all go to. I don't know.
Like BYU or whatever.
Yeah, BYU.
Yeah, BYU. Yeah.
And then he rips out the Book of Mormon out of his dashboard or whatever that thing's called in the front of the car.
Yeah.
And he was like, "Oh, this is my favorite verse from the Book of Mormon." And I was like, "Oh, very nice. Very nice." And
this is date one. This is the first time you guys hung out.
Yeah, that was the very first time I ever met him.
So in 20 minutes, you found out that he wears fake hair and he rolls around with the Book of Mormon and just, slings out some verses, and on, whenever he feels necessary. That's what you learned about this guy.
That is what I learned about him, and he never went out ever again.
Yeah, I can't imagine that. I can't understand why that is. That seems a little odd.
I remember I told my brother that story, and he thought it was so funny. And he told my mom, but my mom got so mad because she was like, "Why would you ever go in a stranger's car?"
That's what she went with. I'm surprised she didn't say, "Why would you ever go in his car without knowing his last name?" Come on, you got to at least know his last name.
Like, you could have got murdered.
Got murdered. Did you, like, if you said it, I'm sorry, I forgot. Did you meet him at Starbucks when you were working and just like, hey, let's hang out afterwards and just had a good vibe? Or how did you meet him?
No, I met him on Bumble and he's like, you want to hang out? Right. I was like, sure. That's
right. You did say that. I'm sorry. I forgot about that part. No shit.
You know, like during everything was shut down and I was
you know, you guys were really fucked out there because you guys were locked down so much longer than it felt like everybody else. I mean, shit was just like, it felt like it was a good 5-6 months before anything really started opening back up.
It was like a year almost.
Yeah.
We literally like they just lifted the mask mandate in like hospitals not that long ago.
I was out there around Christmas time. And I remember walking down on the beach down in, there was Manhattan and Hermosa. And there's a big sign that said $350 fine if you're not wearing your mask. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I mean, you're out. It's open air. And it was, it was like, December. It blew me away. So I can't imagine. Was your dating life just on hold? Did you get any, what did you do?
Kind of. I went on a few dates. Like, I started talking to this one guy around my birthday, which would have been in like May. And I really liked him, and we'd like hang out at like my house or his house and like watch movies. So it'd be like movie dates. Like our first date was like a movie date in a bar.
That's cool. That's awesome.
Very uncomfortable. And I with him. And then one day I just sensed something was off. And he was like, oh, I'm not feeling that well. And I was like, I just had this gut feeling that he was lying to me. And I knew where he lived. So I was like, I'm going to go surprise him with a Starbucks drink to make him.
Sure.
I knew something was going on. I just knew it. So I come over and I ring the doorbell and he's not answering, and I call him and I was like, oh, I brought you something. And he was like, oh, well, I told you I'm not feeling well. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, you're not going to answer the door? And he was like, no. And all the lights were off. And I was like, okay. And I was like, just answer the door. I was like, just grab your drink. I just want to like make sure you're okay. And he was like refusing. And I was like, you have a girl in there, don't you? And he was like, no. And I was like, yeah, you do. And then I eventually saw the girl in his window.
Oh, no shit.
I got so mad that I grabbed his drink and I threw it at his door. And then I stormed back to my car and grabbed my drink and threw it at his window. And then he texted me, he goes, are you breaking things? And I was like, yes.
Jesus Christ. I mean, like, I laugh, but I shouldn't, because that sucks. You like the guy, you see him, and he's out there, just being a douchebag. I'm sorry, that sucks. I had to kind of be like, fucking, I don't want to say break your heart, but enough to make you throw a couple of Starbucks drinks, that's for sure.
I mean, it just made me mad because, like, be honest. If you're not looking for a relationship or we're not on the same page, be like, oh, I'm looking for something different. Don't pretend, and then all of a sudden ghost me or whatever.
Yeah. One night he gets a different offer. I wouldn't even say a better offer, but a different offer. And he's like, got to venture that out, and it's not forthright with it. So how long? So that was during COVID, you said, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So when COVID was up and you could, I don't know, resume dating as usual, did floodgates just open and just you're like, you know what, I got to get out in the world, and just started going out and dating and having fun again?
The first real date I went on, I actually ended up getting in a long-term relationship with him. And I dropped out of beauty school to be with him. I moved to Phoenix to be with him.
Oh shit.
Because he kind of like manipulated me into doing it, because like he manipulated me into moving in with him, because he was like, oh, you're 24 years old. You shouldn't be living with your parents. That's so embarrassing. And then I was like, oh, that's kind of like, maybe he's right, you know?
Yeah.
So like I moved out with him, and then he decides to get a job in Phoenix. And then he's like, well, are you going to come with me? And I was like, I was almost done with beauty school. Like I had like 3 months left.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, I really think that I should just finish school. And then he was like, well, you really want to go back to Palmdale? That's so embarrassing. And then like, I'm like, oh, you know, that's right. Like, that's true. That is kind of embarrassing. So then I went with him, and my parents were livid.
Sure.
And it was the worst mistake of my life.
Man,
I ended up like a year and a half. I was with him. We got 2 cats. He was verbally abusive. Like when he would get drunk, he would get super mad at me. He was very insecure. He would get jealous of my brother. Like my brother came to visit, and I booked us pedicures. My brother is gay.
Okay, that's cool.
He was like, you never book us pedicures, and I was like, my brother is gay. we're getting pedicures together. And then he wouldn't let me visit my parents without him. He was super insecure. And then he ended up getting a job in Virginia, and he shipped my car over there last summer. And his mom talked me into going with him. And so I never wanted to be far. Like I didn't even like being in Phoenix away from my family, like being 7 hours away. I was sad with them. And I even told him that. He just was not getting that. And then I was like, well, if you can't understand that, then I'm sorry. But I ended up going with him because I felt like I ruined my life to be with him. I felt like I was stuck with him.
Yeah.
I think I was only there for 5 days.
Really?
And I was driving my car to work, and I told him, you know, this isn't going to work out. I'm going to drop you off at work, and I'm taking the cats and I'm going home. I know that broke his heart, but I was just so sick of him that I didn't even care anymore.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
I dropped him off at work. I packed all my stuff. I took the cats, and I drove from Virginia all the way back to California.
That's a drive, girl. Would that take you about 4 days?
It took me 3 days.
3 days? Yeah. That is a drive. That's like, I've done pretty much where you're at. LA to Miami is the longest I've done. But like you, with 2 cats, did you get them like tranquilizers or anything? Or did you just like say, hey, we're rolling? Because they must have hated that. No, they're
actually really good travelers. Because I used to take them everywhere as kittens and stuff.
Oh, okay.
So, and when we lived in Phoenix, we lived in this high rise, and the fire alarm would go off all the time. So I'd have to like pack them in the little cat carriers and then walk down the stairs. And then I would just take them and get them whipped cream.
You know what? Good for you, girl. Good for you for like being out there and like, hey, this ain't gonna work. And I'm out, and then and head back. And like you had to think when you got back to where you're at, you're just like, you know what? This dude was just had too much control over me. You know, too much shame. Like because
he did. Like I had video of him yelling at me over a burrito not tasting good. Because my grandma came to visit, and she gave me money for dinner because my brother also lives in Arizona. So I was over at his house.
Oh, cool.
She gave me money. She's like, oh, here's money for dinner. So I called him, and I was like, hey, my grandma gave me money for dinner. What do you want? And so he tried this new place, and I read his text message wrong, and I ordered it wrong. He blew a head gasket, and I have a record yelling at me over it.
Wow.
And I was like, you're yelling at me over a burrito. And then he was just like, it's the principle, blah, 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 blah. And I was like, this is so stupid.
You've got to be like thinking your lucky stars, like, because that probably wasn't going to get better. That was probably just going to keep getting worse.
And believe it or not, like a month after I left him, I get a message request on Instagram from this random account asking about if he was like abusive. And I was like, you know what? He was pretty verbally abusive. And she was like, I'm his ex before you. And then she told me her story and how it was the exact same.
Oh, shit.
Except he punched her in the face.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, and that's why she left him.
No shit.
That's crazy. Because she even showed his mom, and she didn't believe her. And I remember I sent his mom the videos of him yelling at me. And she would, he was just having a bad day. And I'm like, well, you literally created this monster. So
literally. how often are you meeting somebody at work that you might go out with? And how often are you meeting people on the apps? Is it like 50-50?
Believe it or not, and people never believe me when I say this, but I never get approached in person.
Really?
So like I can tell like if a guy's flirting with me, like when I'm working.
Sure.
But like if I ever go out with my friends to like a bar or anything, I never ever get approached.
I wonder why
and
that
I'm
is.
wondering like maybe I just look mean. I don't know.
No. I know so many people are so much more comfortable. I mean, keyboard courage is a thing. They're a lot easier to talk to, over a phone than actually do a cold approach in person. That just seems, at work, like if they're in your chair, you've already started a dialogue. Like they don't have to cold approach. So I could see where that would make a little bit of sense. But so many people have such a hard time talking in person anymore.
Yeah, I would rather meet someone in person than on the apps because guys are awful. Like I have Tinder. This is the only app I have right now. And they have like categories on there now, like looking for love. So I specifically clicked on that and I was like, maybe there will be people that aren't looking for hookups in this little category. So I matched with this guy. And the first message I get from him is, let's fuck. And I was like, are you serious?
How often does that happen? Like I hear some people say it happens to them all the time. Some people say not all that much, to where like it's either within the first, I don't know, let's just say how quickly does it usually get there when you talk to somebody, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
Almost right away.
Really?
If they're that, yeah. It's really sad. Or they'll just send pictures. Like I have this guy on Instagram that will send me videos
like of him taking care of himself, or just him naked, or just like shirtless or something. All of it.
Yeah.
What is your opinion of dick pics? Okay, so I talk about this a lot on the show. Like I will give you what I think a woman should do. Like, do you get them and just like, are you like, all right, that's a 10. What the fuck did you send me this for? I mean, does it bother you, or do you expect it?
I'm just like, what's the point of sending it?
That is the eternal question. Like it's got to be shock value, right?
Because I've never met a girl that, enjoys getting a dick pic.
I've never known a woman to say, I was thinking about sleeping with this guy, but then he sent the dick pic and then like, I'm in. Yes. I've never heard that happen once.
I think there's a law in California now that says you can like sue for unsolicited nudes now.
Can you really?
I don't know if that's true or not, but I kind of want to like be like, I'm going to sue you.
So what is the worst date? If you like, is the Mormon guy, or like the worst date you've had?
I'd say the Mormon guy, but also when I was 18 years old, I went on a date with this guy that I went to high school with. I think he was like a year younger than me. And he was like, oh, I'll pick you up. And I was like, okay. And this is why I never let men pick me up from this specific date. This boy takes me to Guitar Center and starts playing with all the instruments. And I had to text my friend and have him come rescue me because I was like, I cannot handle this any longer.
Nothing says I love you like Guitar Center. I mean, it'd been one thing if he grabbed the guitar and started serenading you, I guess. But no, that didn't happen, huh?
No, he was literally just doing his own thing. And I felt like I was following him around.
Oh, shit. So how do you, like, when you match with somebody before you go out with them, do you background check them at all?
Yeah, I'll people search them.
Will you really?
Or I'll like reverse search their phone number.
Okay. All right. And like the people search, is that people, like I don't know, like I know my case, I know a couple of those. I don't know people search. Is that just like you go there, you can type in their information and gives you stuff, or you just try to figure out their name just on a Google search?
It'll give you their address, their email, their phone number. Yeah.
And it's free?
This one I think is free. I've paid for it.
Okay, cool. Because like people ask about different sites. So people search, that will get you stuff. Does it give you criminal record?
You have to pay for that one. And then there's also a free reverse phone lookup.
Okay. And you do that?
I do that as well. Because you never know, you're like married and the phone could be under their wife's name or something.
Yeah, I mean, like half the guys on, and maybe a quarter of the women who are on the sites, they're married pretending to be single. So you gotta kind of find out.
Sometimes guys are just so stupid, and they'll have like a kid and they don't tell you about it, and you can literally just look them up on Instagram and you're like, so you have a child that you were hiding from me? They're like, I was gonna tell you about that, but I didn't think it was a big deal. Like, a big deal? It's a child.
You literally had one dude on a date pull off his hair, and now you have another dude that won't tell you about his kid. I mean, you're getting all different kinds.
Oh, yeah. Oh, there's guys that are drug addicts, and you find out and they tell you their whole life story, and you're like, oh, like on the first date talking about how they're addicted to like meth and how they've gone to jail, and you're like,
yeah,
oh, interesting.
The area that you're in. So like, I know Palmdale well. I went to Palmdale High School, so I know Palmdale well. But you have like Palmdale, you have obviously Acton, Agua Dulce's quite a ways, Quartz Hill, then you have Lake LA, and all that stuff. Like, you have some pockets in there where it is really some bad, like it is some serious hood stuff. Like you have to vet some of those people, I would think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's this when I was in love with this guy. I don't know why. Because I think I was 21 and he was 28 and he had no job. He was addicted to drugs. Had a search warrant. No, not a search warrant. A warrant out for his arrest.
Right.
He ended up going to jail.
Damn.
I'm pretty sure he was like an inch shorter than me. I don't know what it was about him, but I was in love with him. I was like, I don't know why. Like, I look back and I'm like, how stupid was I?
You were young. He was an older guy, probably a little dangerous, had a little bad boy image to him. I'm sure that it kind of got you going a little bit, I'd imagine, huh?
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, he was cute, but because he was really funny. And he was genuinely a good guy. And I think I could see that. And I thought maybe like if he got better, like he would out. So
look at you. You're an optimist. You're seeing the good. You're like, I see what it could be. I see how this could work out.
I hate really that. Good. I see that in everyone. I see the good in everyone. And I'm like, I should start seeing the bad in everyone.
No, don't hate that. I think that's the best way. If you see the good, that's great. Now, you're a smart woman. You trust your intuition. You just go from there. I mean, that's all, as long as you trust that intuition, that's the safest thing you can do. So I've heard the bad. It's good dates. Have there been good dates?
Good dates. Let me think. With this guy, it went really well. And then we ended up hanging out the next day. And like we would see each other pretty often. And then randomly, I never heard from him again. And
What?
I was like, what?
Did you hook up?
Yeah.
So it was like, I mean, because I guess that's all I'm thinking is like, did he hook up and say, all right, I got what I wanted and take off, you think? Is that what happened?
Yeah, but it wasn't like right after that. It was probably like maybe a week later. And I was like,
oh, really?
He hadn't hung out with me for that last
That's
week.
fucking bizarre. Look, I know I am one, but I've openly said it. Guys, we are fucked up. You just like to figure us out. It's just bizarre. So the date was good though, at least. So what made the date good? Did you guys have a good connection? Did you go like, was it Movies 8 or something? What'd you guys do?
Yeah, like we had dinner. We had good chemistry. We were laughing. Yeah. We had the same sense of humor. He was a little bit more out there because I feel like I'm a bit more shy.
Gotcha.
He was way out there, I'll say, where he's kind of a little embarrassing.
Okay.
But on that spectrum, we were completely opposite, but
okay, in
a way it worked. And he was cute. He was not my type. Like, I don't normally go for guys with blue eyes, but
okay, I
was like, he's cute. Yeah, and then I ended up going for someone that wasn't my type, and then he just ghosted me anyway. So I was like, what?
Did you ever talk to him after he ghosted, like months or so later? Did you guys ever reconnect?
Yeah, I was so mad. I was like, I texted him. I was like, hey, like, if you didn't like me or you just wanted to hook up with me, you could have just said that. Like, yeah. I would have been like, oh, okay. Like, I wouldn't have gotten mad at you. I'm like, but you just straight up ghosting me and ignoring me. I was like, that's so not cool. That is so immature.
What did he say? Or did he respond?
He did not respond. And then 2 weeks later, you're right. I'm sorry.
2 weeks later. Maybe you'll get another text in another like 6 months, just with like 8 sentences.
I've just been going through things with my ex and stuff. And I was like, okay.
Come on, bro. hate the apps, still single, hoping to meet somebody in person maybe instead of the apps.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
Working out because I don't go anywhere. So
I hear you. Is it exhausting? Like, do you just feel like you're exhausted every time you start a conversation? Like, here the fuck we go again. I gotta, start out from scratch.
It is. Well, depending. Like, sometimes guys can be really annoying.
Yes. Okay.
Like, they will not alone because I have honestly quite a few of those messaging me anytime I post on my story. They'll be like, "Oh, you're so cute," or "You're so funny." "Oh, yeah, I'm beginning to think you've always been this cute." And I'm like, and I don't respond. And I'm like, take the hint, please.
Sure.
I personally, if I messaged someone and they didn't respond, I would feel like, okay, I'm just going to leave them alone.
Yeah,
Clearly,
sure.
they're not interested. But these guys, they do not take that hint. There's this one guy that always will respond to my stuff, and I'm like, okay. Like, I even was joking around. He was like, "Oh, let me take you on a date," and I was like, "Oh, I can't."
And you're still trying to be nice though, right? Like, it sounds like you don't want to be mean, but you don't want to talk to him either.
Yeah, I don't want to be like, "You're ugly." No.
Yeah. No, I get it. So is there how many different matches do you have right now? And then how many, when you log in, how many likes are waiting for you usually?
Let me check.
Roughly. I mean, I mean, if you guesstimate, that's fine. Cause I guess I'm envisioning you have a lot of people that you're talking to if you decide to, but you probably have a pick of about 15 to 20 every time you log in of new likes. That's my guess.
It says I have 99 plus likes.
That's what it's like though too. Like for women, especially great looking women, you go in there and you don't even have to play. They're like, all right, let me give this guy a chance, and you're connected. That's a good feeling though.
Yeah, sometimes it does make you feel good. Like if you need a little confidence boost.
Sure. I mean, as you should have. I mean, should get a little swagger going.
Yeah, but then they're pretty much all the same, and you're just like, are you kidding me? Or and it's always the extremely good-looking ones that know they're good-looking that are they're such douchebags, and you're just like, oh god, I don't even swipe right on them because I don't even want to deal with you.
Thank you for being along for the ride of the Swipe Wrong podcast, where we take everyday people like you and me telling their everyday stories of their swipe right life. Show is produced by Jay Pelham. He is the host of Pelham Place. If you want to reach out to the show and tell us your story, we'd love to hear it. Give us a call. Google Voice us at 317-426-6616. Leave your information and we'll get back to you, or just your story. You can also email us at swipewrongpod@gmail.com. We are on Insta, Facebook, TikTok. We're out there. I am Chaos, the host of Chaotic Commentary. You can find me pretty much anywhere that you see me. And next week, the saga continues.
Swipe wrong. Swipe wrong.